Magsafe. And
everything looks
we are
good.
live.
Yep.
Cool. I think we're live. Hello, guys and gals.
Let me just beat this out. We're Travis and I were talking, and we got to be quick today. So
we're gonna be efficient, unlike normal.
Yeah, normally we're very inefficient.
I don't think that's the word, but okay, fair enough. Let's give a minute or so for some more people to get in as the notifications go out.
Yes, those notifications.
I had my record live stream on Saturday. You see that?
Actually, was not at your record live stream. I kind of feel bad because I saw you do my record live stream. I was like, oh man,
it was 320 concurrent.
Whoa, holy moly!
I know, for a big, well, I don't know, I guess it was a big deal weekend for iPhone 12, but it was a big deal. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Hey-o, hey-o, hey-o. Hey-o, hey-o. Everyone saying hi. 300, baby.
We need Gadget Cast to get to 300 every week.
Yes, that would be amazing. Can everyone put it on their Facebook and everything that makes any kind of social media?
Please put it on your Facebook, put it on your TikTok, your Instagram Reels. I think it's gonna
put it everywhere.
Yeah. Please. Help us out.
Please make us famous, please.
Yeah, please make us famous. Please. Look at this. This face deserves fame. That's what my mom says.
All right, let's get ready to roll this. Are we ready? You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm more ready than I've ever been.
I mean, we got lots to cover, so I mean, whatever. Oh, someone's actually asking about the official Gadget Cast headphones. We should probably tell them about the official Gadget Cast headphones, which you can get these headphones, but you can't get the ones with the Gadget Cast logo on them. But they are the Soundcore Q10s, which are amazing, but we have our own customized versions, which are these.
Yes. I don't know why my voice broke, but
all right, why don't we do some things and let's talk about all the things. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, record.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Hello, world, and welcome to the premier podcast where you talk about all the Apple stuff, the Gadget Cast. My name is Gregory McFadden, joined always by my co-host Travis MCP.
Space travel.
Hit that mark real nice there this week.
Right, Gregory. I finally got it. I finally got the mark. I think I think that's an award-winning podcast episode. So that's going to do it for us at Gadget Cast. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. No, just kidding.
One time we should do that one day. Maybe like April Fools. We should just put like a minute podcast out there and be like, all right,
100%. Yeah, 100%.
But unfortunately, or fortunately for you, today's show cannot be a minute long because there's a lot to cover. We just had an Apple event. I imagine that is the bulk of this show because there was a lot of stuff that Apple announced. 4 new iPhones. I mean, I feel like we've known about that for a whole year now, which is weird, but it's a real thing with real things. I don't know. HomePod Mini. I don't know. We can talk about that a little bit. New iPad Airs. You can officially order them, even though they announced them a month ago. And then like I thought like we'd be able to order those and get our hands on them way quicker. And they're just like, nah, we're gonna like. Why they even announce it? Like it's kind of weird how they like waited so long to announce the iPhones. But you can see like their priorities. Like for the iPad, they know they can announce it a month ahead of time and no one cares. If they did that with the iPhones, people will be going, where's my iPhone?
Well, they kind of did almost with the iPhone 12 Pro and Mini, right? I mean, darn near.
That is true. But at least they have like an iPhone you can buy. Yeah. Well, I guess, the pre-orders already went up, so
Yep.
you can buy them, and they'll be shipping out Friday. Did you buy one?
I did not. I wouldn't mind having the blue, but I can't justify after buying a Fold 2 for $2 million, and then also some other various phones for the channel. I mean, I recommend it. It seems like a cool phone, but also the other thing is that it's not the price that I think maybe we knew it wasn't this price, but I mean, iPhone 11 was less expensive and the 12 is now more expensive for various reasons.
Yeah,
of course.
We're gonna talk about all that. Now I don't know. Do you want to go in like show order? Do you want to talk about iPhones first or HomePod Mini? Do you even care about that? You kind of expressed your thoughts pretty clearly on last show. I asked you on the HomePod Mini, would there be anything they could do to change your mind? And you were kind of like, no, just get out of the smart speaker business, Apple. Was there anything with this HomePod Mini? Did they win you over in any single way?
The price, $99.
Okay,
that's a decent price for what it is. So that part was a little surprising to me, and for that, it's probably worth it, especially if you're really into the Apple ecosystem and you have like a lot of Apple things. Then it's a pretty easy thing to slot in there because I have like Echo shows and Echoes all over my house. But if I was more Apple centric, then that would make sense as well.
That really is the problem for Apple. It isn't even, is this a good product or a bad product? It's that most people have homes full of these smart speakers already. So now you're asking people to replace their existing smart speakers. I think this product, again, I think it could potentially do well just because it is an Apple product and they can have that upsell when they're selling like an iPhone, like, hey, this little $100 speaker would be great in your house. The real question for me is the sound quality. HomePod, was an expensive speaker, didn't do too well in the smarts, but I think a lot of people agreed it sounded pretty good. The question is out on the Mini for $100 speaker. If it sounds better than what Amazon or Google's offering for their $100 speakers, maybe that's enough to make it a winner. Because, what people usually use these smart speakers for is playing music. I think that's one of the bigger jobs for those smart speakers. So even if it's a little dumber than what you get with an Amazon Echo, I'm not going to say the name, or the Google Home stuff, or I guess Nest now, if it sounds good and $100 and maybe it can actually do something. I'm curious to see. I'm going to order one, obviously. I like some of the stuff they were doing with the U1 chip. I think John Prosser was kind of tweeting about that, how important the U1 is going to be. You can bring like your phone right next to it and it will automatically like just go right to it. The current HomePods kind of have something that do that already, but this looks like a more improved experience. Some of the intercom stuff looks cool, but like an Amazon that can already do that.
Yeah.
So nothing like too groundbreaking there with like the smart stuff, but yeah, $100. Maybe it can do something. Maybe.
The one thing that they have not done that Amazon is actually really good about is they have not essentially. So what Amazon does is when they do a commercial and you see a commercial, it's like, Alexa, do this, that, and the other. And if you have an Echo in your house, it doesn't set it off. It's because they have like a whitelisting for they've actually like blueprinted the whitelisting of what that commercial is going to sound like. So it doesn't kick off everyone's Echo show and Echoes. Apple didn't do that. Because I saw on Twitter, everyone's phones and everything else were going off to the entire commercial thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't even know if they have the technology to do that, but that was one thing that I thought was kind of funny. And most of the other things they've announced, much like Apple does, it's going to sound new and cool, like, oh my God, intercom and this, that, and the other. But it's existed for a very long time. Having said that, one thing they did say, and they did mention, that is slightly different is when you do like the intercom and message and stuff, not only does it go to the smart speakers, it also goes to like your phone and your Apple Watch. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did dig that. I wonder, would it go to your Apple TV and stuff too, or?
I don't know. I there's no reason why I couldn't, unless they were just like, well, who's like sitting in front of their TV and wants to hear that message? That might be annoying. But yeah, you can do it while you're away from your house too, from your phone to the intercom. So there's a lot of that inner working stuff that it's the Apple magic of the software integration between all your devices. So that stuff could work out pretty well for them. I think more competition in any space is good. The HomePod wasn't competing in this space, obviously. I really do And I know the privacy, it kind of seems like a losing battle at this point, but I do respect Apple for at least giving people the option to be a little bit more privacy focused and not necessarily selling your data off. So I do like that the option is there, even though it seems kind of futile at points. Like, I've heard your argument on privacy. It's almost like too late, but I do like that they are trying to do that there's a different voice and people can kind of vote with their wallets. I think people will probably choose whatever is the cheapest option at the time. You get on like those Black Friday deals. I mean, Google and Amazon are basically giving away their speakers. Yeah. I also wonder if they'll face a naming problem. I saw this on Twitter too. You walk into a store, you see a Google Home Mini, you see an Amazon Echo Dot, and then you see a HomePod Mini. Whether or not that HomePod Mini is more of like the $100 products that they offer, just the fact that it says Mini, people are going to go, well, this one's like $50 and this one's $100. Why would I get this? So I wonder if that's is going to be a battle for them too.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about, I saw on Twitter at the time and asking people in chat talking about no Bluetooth, which is definitely something that Apple continues to just ignore and then only works with Apple Music. I don't know that that's true. I think it's actually going to do other music as well.
They're opening it up to third-party music stores. I believe Amazon is one of them, which is interesting because obviously you could do that on the Echo. You can have Apple Music. But I think the big one was Spotify, and that wasn't there. Now, if they're going to open it up to Amazon Music, there's no reason why Spotify couldn't be there. But if you know anything about the relationship between Spotify and Apple right now, it's kind of not a nice relationship. Spotify is kind of saying Apple has too much control. Maybe Apple went to them and went, hey, you want to be on our speaker? And they're just like, no, like we want this fight in a way. So who knows what that's doing? But I think Spotify, it's one of the biggest music services out there. So the fact that it's not there, obviously you can AirPlay it, but the big appeal of a smart speaker is saying, hey, play this. So I think that's a big loss for them, obviously.
I think I still think it's going to be one of the more forgotten kind of things that was announced. Obviously, there's so much more that got the press this week. I actually had forgotten about the Mini until you just mentioned it.
We probably spent too long on the Mini anyway, so we're gonna, it'll come out. I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but at the end of the day, it's a cheaper HomePod. They didn't really change the game here, other than the price, which was the biggest problem. So we'll see what it does. But yeah, let's move on to the more exciting stuff. iPhones. iPhone 12 Mini, iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 12 Pro Max. You said you didn't order one. What I think is really interesting is they're not being released all at once.
Right.
So they're kind of releasing there's the lowest end one, which is the Mini, and it's the smallest. There's the highest end one and the biggest one, which is the Max. And it's funny that those two are separate. They're not being released. And you're kind of, now people have to choose between what I think are kind of two similar phones in a way. The regular 12 and the 12 Pro. Both same screen size, 6.1 inches. And some subtle differences that, I kind of keep going back and forth on this. Originally, I thought, and we'll talk about all this real quick. I thought the 12 Pro might have been the weakest phone. I could see the argument for every phone. The 12 Pro, I don't know if it's worth the extra money over the 12, because one of the bigger selling points with iPhones in previous years was that if you got the cheaper iPhone, you got an LCD display. If you wanted to get an OLED display, you had to step up to the Pro models. Now they all have an OLED display. And interestingly enough, it's also like the same quality display with one small difference. Like the Pro models get brighter. I think it's 800 nits versus 625. In day-to-day use, it's probably not like the biggest deal. But, same contrast ratios, like every other quality metric, it's the same resolution. So they didn't do like the lower resolution screen. It's not like 326 pixels per inch. There's a lot of similarities between these devices now. And I don't know. It's hard to, I always usually used to recommend the normal models. And I feel like that's probably going to be true this year as well.
Yeah. I think the one thing that would have you pick the Pro over the 12, and I talk a little bit about this in the video I just released, is that the camera system is better. if you're like into that kind of whole, online production or mobile production, or you're really into cameras and stuff, that might be it. But ironically, the best camera system is on the Mac. So, and I kind of took Apple to task for this, because while I'm going to get the Macs like that, I only want bigger screen phones. Not everyone wants that. And not everyone's going to want to be forced into that just to get the best that is available. Because if you're getting the Pro, you figure you get the Pro, and there's just two sizes of Pro, but that's no longer the case. There's now a Pro and something that's a little bit better than the Pro. So it kind of, in a weird way, does make a lame duck out of the 11 Pro, unless you want some of those features but don't want the extra size. If you're okay with the size, then yeah, completely ridiculous, almost pointless. But enough people, I think, want smaller size. Again, I've seen a lot of people in the comment section loving the mini and the smaller sizes. So I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the mini. Obviously, we're gonna have to wait till November before we even get our hands on that. My biggest concern with the mini is battery life. We can talk about that later, though. But if I can make the battery life work for me, I think I might be in on that mini. I don't know. I'm pretty excited to get a smaller phone again. Yeah, the 12 Pro. So here's my thing with the 12 Pro, and I don't know. So if you're in the market for one of these phones, and maybe I should have done a better job explaining like the broad features of the iPhone 12 for people who don't know. I assume everyone knows at this point, though. It has like a new redesign, has like squared edges. It's really not the biggest deal. Like, it looks nice, but they kind of look like the new iPad Pros, like that kind of design shrunken down to an iPhone size. iPhone 4S is what people say. They got some other interesting features too. I kind of want to talk about that separately though. But I don't know, A14 chip, the regular size iPhone, or I guess not regular size, the base iPhone 12 has 2 cameras. The Pros, as Travis was saying, have 3 cameras, one being a telephoto. There's also the LiDAR camera, which looks like it's doing more than what it does on the Pro. Like, it's going to help with autofocus and low lighting, and it does some other things. But maybe not as many jobs as I thought it would have. Like, I thought there'd be even more, like, oh, with our LiDAR system, we'll be able to blur out the backgrounds. Even like, I didn't hear anything about that. These are 5G iPhones too. I mean, there's a whole other story about talking about 5G and if it's ready yet. I based on my testing with 5G phones so far, granted, I haven't tried Verizon, but from what I hear, you have to be like under a certain like street lamp to get the correct millimeter wave signal. So I feel like 5G not ready. But if you're buying this phone for like the next 4 years, which I think a lot of iPhone shoppers are, you might want 5G in 2 to 4 years. So that's nice to have. But yeah, I was trying to get back to my main point. So the 6.1 inch 12 and the 6.1 inch 12 Pro. The differences are obviously in the design. The Pro has like stainless steel, which is like a nicer material to look at. It's actually heavier though. So if you want like a lighter phone, maybe you like the aluminum of the 12. If you're not into that super shiny thing, a lot of people are going to put a case on it anyway, right? So why not get the lighter design, and then your case is going to be a little bit heavier. And then the 12 Pro has a telephoto. I was hearing 4X, like for rumors. The most crazy thing to me is they're saying it's still 2X. They're saying 4X, but it's from the wide angle, like the ultra wide angle. So it's not an enhanced zoom range. It's the same thing as before. The Pro actually has a 2.5. I don't know how big of a difference that'll make, but it's slightly more. I feel like for zoom and stuff like that, like Samsung's got 100 times zoom. So yeah. It's
the Pro Max has like a 5X or something in, but it's like, again, it's not
from the ultra
optical range. Yeah, something like that. So it's kind of confusing.
It's like the biggest marketing blah I've ever, because they used to not include that. It used to be 2X from the wide. So it's marketing. But here's the thing. Do you go for the 12 and lose the telephoto and the LiDAR? Or do you go 12 Pro and, mind you, and this is where I think it gets really hard to decide, because if you're judging between the 12 and the 12 Pro, it's a $200 difference when you first look at it. However, the 12 Pro comes with 128 gigabytes of storage, which you're going to want on your 12, I think. That's another $50 increase. So they're really only $150 away. So which one is the lame duck here? Is it the 12 or is it the 12 Pro? Because if you're going 128, is it better just to spend the extra 150, get the telephoto, get the LiDAR. You could do Dolby Vision 4K 60. I don't know if that matters to people too much. What do you think? Like if you could only pick one, do you spend the extra 150 and get those extra features?
You know what I think it comes down to? It depends on who the question is being asked by. So if I'm imagining someone in their local carrier store and they go, oh, the pretty colors on this one, oh, I like these colors better. Oh, the other one has some okay colors, has a third camera, it's like $200 more. No, I don't want this one color. I like this color better. This blue is really nice. I think it sometimes is going to come down to that. I think that's going to happen a lot, actually, a lot more than we'd like to give credit for. Beyond that, from a more technical aspect, $200 or $150 is a bit of money. And if you're doing it even over a paid plan, that kind of increases your monthly or increases your down payment. And will you see the value? I guess you would have to look at how many times you actually use Zoom. Most people are not going to know what Dolby Vision is. And when they shoot stuff, I'm guessing you're going to have to turn that on. I mean, I don't know. I would assume you have to turn that on when you're recording. Don't you have to turn on HDR when you're recording video on the iPhone?
No,
or is that automatic?
So,
well, regardless, like I feel like it's not going to matter for most people. You go, oh, you can shoot this in 4K. Oh, that's cool. What does that actually look? It's the same because you're looking at it on your phone when you're on Instagram. I mean, you know what I mean? Like if anyone actually pays attention to it, the 12 is the better deal, but the 12 isn't like as great of a deal as the 11 was last year.
Yeah.
And even now the 11 this year is like a really good deal at like $600. So it is, you have now a lot of selection, a lot of options this year from Apple for new phones, from the SE all the way up to the 12 Pro Max. I'm surprised they kept the 10R and the 11. I actually kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yes.
But regardless, like you have a lot of options and it does make it more confusing. I'm interested I would love to know not only what the projections are, but the expectations of Apple are for selling each one of those phones, because as you can cover more bases and you can sell more, you also need more inventory for that. So how much of that is a bet against something that may not ever happen? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the sales breakdown, if any, because Apple doesn't offer official numbers anymore, but there's usually some analysis there where people can kind of see, I think based on like the average selling price of what units are moving. The Mini is the real oddball here to me, because it's been a long time since Apple's offered like a smallish phone at this price level. They've done like the SE for a couple of years, and that's like a $400 phone. So are people just getting that smaller phone because it's $400, or do they want a smaller phone? This is, to my knowledge, the first flagship phone from any company at this small of a size. When you kind of measure out the dimensions, it's smaller than the iPhone SE, which is already it's a pretty small phone.
Yeah.
I have a bigger screen because it's a full screen design or whatever. But it's smaller than that. So this is going to be the smallest phone they've released since the iPhone 5. And we've kind of talked about that. Is there pent up demand for a smaller phone, or is it just the cheap option again, where people want an iPhone 12 and it's kind of like, well, I want an iPhone 12, but I only have $700. So I guess I won't get the bigger one because it's too much money. So I'll go for the Mini begrudgingly. Or is this going to sell like a lot of, if you have an Android phone now and you want a smaller phone, especially at a flagship level, there really aren't any options. Like I was trying to do some research. I know there's that really small phone, right? Like Palm makes it, but it's not like a flagship phone. It's almost like a side phone that you take. It's kind of baffling. Like you get this big phone and then you get this as your side phone when you don't want to take your big phone with you. And I'm just like, who's doing that?
I know, right?
So maybe this is the year where, I think you mentioned this in your video, there's Android switchers, a lot of Android switchers to Apple. Maybe there's demand from people who are on Android now who want a smaller option, and there really isn't any on Android. And that Mini could end up selling really well for them because that one is at the good price point. When you really look at the specs, and I know I'm going to try and make it work, I'm kind of excited, but I think a lot of like the techie people are more like you. They want the bigger phone. They don't really want to settle with the Mini. But if you look at like the specs of the Mini, it has everything the regular size 12 has. It has a 5G chip in it. It has 2 cameras. It has the Dolby Vision stuff. It has the A14. It's a really competent phone if you can make the size work for you and if the battery life is good. I was looking at the battery life ratings, and it's hard because it's Apple's word, right? Like Apple goes, the battery is this level, and you kind of have to test it out because manufacturers, if there's one thing they lie about, it's battery life. But they're saying it's 15 hours compared to for continuous video playback, which again, no one does, and that's like without using your internet. They say it's 15 hours, and the SE is 13 hours. So I'm kind of translating that into, I have an iPhone SE, and I'll probably get 1 more hour of battery life if I'm kind of like converting those numbers. So 1 more hour of battery life from the SE, I'm guessing. Maybe I could make that work. I felt like with the SE, like if I had like just another hour of screen on time, I could probably be okay. But it's going to be hard because they have 5G in there. They actually have a feature where they'll toggle it back to 4G if they don't need to use 5G speeds, because 5G drains battery like really quickly. And the Mini does not have a huge battery in it because it's a small phone. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that sells. I don't know. I think that 10R at $500 though, and that 11 at $600, those might be the top selling phones. I don't know.
Yeah, totally could be. $500 10R is really great, but at that point, I would tell people to save up a couple extra dollars and get the 11. Like there's very few instances where I could say get the 10R at this point. Not because it's not a great deal at that price. It is. If the 11 didn't exist, I would be like all day, every day. But with the 11 only being $100 more, I just feel like with the better processor, the extra camera, it's just a better phone. So 10R is a hard recommendation for me now.
I would say if you don't care about camera, which I feel like isn't many people, so it's clearly the 11. It has night mode. It's going to be a way better experience for your camera, and it has the ultra wide. But I feel like I know a couple people who are like, I don't care about the camera. Does it take a picture? Okay. And let's be honest, like in daylight, 10R versus 11 photo, it's going to be hard to tell. If you really don't care about the camera, I think the 10R might actually, it's kind of like the same phone. Like I don't think you're going to notice the difference between processor speed either. Right. But you might get like 1 year of update more with the 11. So it's kind of,
they're close. I just mean the wide angle versus, I don't mean like the quality, but I mean like the wide angle versus, and one thing that NY Fan Forever says, and someone else said this in the chat, but or in a comment section, but I don't have this problem with T-Mobile. Like you have to make sure that your plan actually has 5G, because I guess you have to add 5G for some. Mine just has 5G. Like I just have 5G. Apparently, I had not ordered it or anything, but I have 5G. So I think you need to check with your carrier to make sure you even have 5G if you're looking at getting one of the 12s, to make sure you can take any kind of advantage of it. We can talk about whether or not there is an actual advantage here in a minute, but make sure that you even have it. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, okay, well, this is exactly the same.
Yeah. My experiences with 5G on T-Mobile's network haven't been all that great. Sometimes I've done like the speed tests, and like sometimes it's actually like pretty impressive, like 50 megabit kind of connection. Like that's pretty decent for a cellular connection out in the wild. But I still had like buffering and stutter. Like it's not perfect. Sometimes you get like a test back that's like 4 megabits per second. Like it is not the 5G network of the future yet. But I think that's kind of like every cell network in its early days. I remember when 4G came out, it wasn't like the best thing in the world. Yeah, so I think it's going to get better, but it's probably going to take a year or two. So yeah, I don't know. But some of the plans you do have to have 5G on. Like I know with AT&T, I have 2 lines, AT&T and T-Mobile, and with the AT&T, you have to have like their unlimited plan to get 5G. So for some people, you're going to have to upgrade. Speaking of AT&T, I guess I should throw this out there for GadgetCast listeners. If you're on AT&T, they have one of the best deals for upgrading to the iPhone. I assume it's because their 5G network stinks and they want to make sure you stay on AT&T. But they are offering up to an $800 trade-in if you have an iPhone 8, iPhone 8 or newer. So if you want to, even if you don't have an iPhone 8, you might want to go to like Amazon Refurbished, order an iPhone 8 and trade it into T-Mobile, get yourself like a $500 discount on your iPhone 12.
AT&T, you mean?
Yeah, AT&T, sorry. They what was it? Yeah, it's you have to do it the monthly though. Like what is it? Like AT&T Next? It's the same price. You just pay it over like whatever 30 months. I think, and it's only for that option for the $800 trade-in. I think that means their network isn't that good, and they're like, we need to make sure we keep these people on our network. How do we do that? Let's just give them like the iPhone 12 for free, and they're locked in for like 2 years.
Well, you know what's interesting? This whole thing is making me probably want to take advantage in November of the Apple version of the kind of jump plan. I have jump on my my carrier, but I'm starting to think of taking care of that. What is it? The iPhone a year thing that Apple has?
Yeah.
I might want to do it through them. I don't know why. I don't know that it's any different than a carrier. It might be about the same, but it feels different. So, you get Apple Care. That's why. It's like bundled with Apple Care, right?
I think it works out better if you planned on getting Apple Care. If you didn't plan on getting Apple Care, I think it's better to just go with the carrier.
Oh, I'll have to check into that. I haven't checked into it very much. I just thought, well, when the Pro comes out and I can get it, that's something that I'll probably consider. By the way, on my Saturday morning live stream yesterday, I made fun of Rene Ritchie, who was in the live stream, because I realized he very likely has the iPhone 12 right now.
Yes.
Because a lot of the reviewers have gotten theirs sent. I do not have one. Greg, do you have one?
I do not have one.
Okay, just checking. You never know.
Like, boy, I'd be like,
You never know. Maybe, I mean, you're over 100,000 now. Maybe they're paying attention to you. But
yeah.
So some reviewers that you should start seeing reviews of those phones probably this coming up week. Maybe by the time you've heard this podcast, just something to keep in mind that those are being reviewed right now. Probably, what is it? The 12 and the 12 Pro is what you'll probably see reviews on this coming up week, and the iPad Air, which is kind of interesting as well. So I don't want to. Are we almost done? We should finish up with the iPhones and then talk about the iPad Air, because I assume you ordered that too, right?
Yeah, I got anything that they put on for order. I ordered it, guys. So.
You ordered a bunch of stuff, didn't you? I mean, do you declare bankruptcy yet?
No, that AT&T deal. I was like, I have some iPhones sitting around. I got them for free, so I'm good. You know, I want the Mini and the Max, but it's a big gap of waiting till November to cover this. Like, I'm not going to do that for my channel, obviously, which is, pretty Apple dependent. So I'm like, well, the 12 I want to try. I also want to try the Pro. So I'm going to end up with all 4 of these phones, I think. Again, I'm glad that AT&T deal was there, and I'm glad I had some spare iPhones to be like, all right, I guess this works. Yeah. Real quick, I do want to address this before we move on from the iPhones. Trying to think. There's 2 things I want to talk about. The ceramic shield glass, I'm very interested in. 4 times more durability. It actually has ceramic in the glass. Like, it's actually real ceramic. I don't know how they did that. That's really weird. For those of you that don't know, ceramic is very scratch resistant. And I've had tons of scratches on this latest iPhone generation. So I hope that means there's more scratch resistance. They mentioned like 4 times drop. Like, I don't know how they come up with that metric, but it's more durable. I've dropped my iPhone before. I've never had it shatter. So I think it's pretty durable now for glass anyway. Glass phones back in the day, if you used to like look at them the wrong way, they'd shatter. So they're a lot more durable than they used to be. But this ceramic shield 4 times stronger. I hope so. And I hope it doesn't scratch when I look at it, because that's awful. The MagSafe stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting. And this was something that kind of surprised me. Like, there's always like, you kind of know everything. And I heard like, I heard something about like magnetic charging or something like that. But this kind of like surprised me at the event. And I thought this was really cool and kind of ingenious. And I'm kind of wondering why they didn't do it sooner. Like, it just seems like something you could have done like 10 years ago, and it would have been a cool idea. So for those of you that don't know, MagSafe is something they used to use on the laptops, but it's kind of a different thing. I don't know why it's called MagSafe. I don't think it's safe anymore, because it used to be like if you trip over the laptop charger, it's a little weak magnetic connection, so the laptop wouldn't fall to the floor, which is the charger. With this, it's on the back of your phone. It's like a ring of magnets. They have like a wireless charger. One of the big problems with wireless chargers, especially the flat ones, is sometimes it doesn't align correctly when you put it on. So now when you go to wirelessly charge, it'll just snap into place and charge. They also have like cases that do it, which are interesting. They have like a little wallet you could put on the back. And then they said like they have like third parties that they're working with. So I think it was Belkin. They showed off like a pretty cool charger, had like the magnetic one, and then one for your Apple Watch, AirPods. They had like a car mount that you could use that was magnetic. And then I feel like pop sockets, there's going to be like a magnetic version of that, right? So they created like a whole new ecosystem of accessories with like this MagSafe system. I thought it was pretty cool. I was kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'd like to try and put a wallet on there and see how that works. Like, can I just like get rid of my other wallet and put like a couple cards in here and just carry my phone? Can there be some new kind of third-party accessory that Apple didn't make, but now that because there's like a magnet on the back, you could just stick something on the back of here? I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cool, pretty ingenious idea.
I think two things about this. Number one, I think the third-party accessories are going to be amazing for this. I think you're going to see some stuff that you hadn't even considered that's going to make it fun and some really cool things to purchase for your phone. And secondarily, I think we're going to see this on Android phones within a year. This is one of those cool things that Android manufacturers go, oh, yeah, we can do that. Let's just put that on there and we'll just see it. And, it just like a lot of other things, I think we're going to see that, which is cool. I welcome that. So yeah, MagSafe is definitely a cool little special edition that I didn't see coming out. I just didn't think it would be anything of anything, and now it seems kind of cool. And I'm excited to see third-party products and what Android does with it.
Yeah, the third-party stuff is because like Apple's gonna make a few things like the wallet, whatever, but like that's it. Like you're not gonna see them make other things for it. But like if you're a third party and you just have access to this, which they do, it's like, well, I don't know, like what other cool things can you put on the back of your iPhone? And maybe put another phone on the back of it. Make like an Android case. Let me get iOS on one side. Let me get Android on the other. How about, oh, look at that. We're gonna make that. I think we just made our $1 million product. No one take that from us. We're gonna make a Galaxy S20 case, and you can stick it on the back of the iPhone.
Yeah. And they can charge each other. You can just put them both in remote or wireless charge.
Hey, magnetic battery pack on the back of it. Maybe. Yep. It does the charging too.
So Pataka does that already with some cool cases and stuff. So you can do it without that now, which I think is important.
I need like a candy case, like put a bunch of Brothers original candies, stick it to the back of my phone.
That is true. You should work with them since you're one of their top influencers.
I'm the best candy influencer out there. 619 is asking, can we talk about the new wireless chargers? I think we did.
Yeah, I mean, your old wireless charger should still work. I mean, it's not
the MagSafe charger. Again, it's magnetic. It's kind of like a giant Apple Watch charger. If you've ever seen one of those, like has like the puck. It charges faster. It does 15 watts.
Right.
Like, that's cool. And then they released a dual charger. So it's the MagSafe and then an Apple Watch charger, which I guess AirPower is dead, right? Like you don't release that.
I mean, at this point, what's the point?
Yeah. I feel like they try to do AirPower and they're like, this is really complicated. And like, even if they got it working, it's like, well, what is this AirPower mat going to cost? Like $200?
Exactly.
And then they're like, well, how do we solve the fact that it's hard to align like wireless chargers? And then someone's like, why don't you put like a magnet on the back? Sell other accessories. It must have been like one of those meetings where like it was just like a giant like, oh, that's okay. That's what we're doing. Like,
yeah.
Because I could just like imagine it. Like AirPower was going to be like super expensive. It was like very over-engineered for solving a very minor issue with wireless chargers.
Right.
And this seems like a much smarter way to solve that issue at a way lower cost.
Yeah, it's just weird. We'll see what happens with it. I think the wireless charger part's okay. I don't want to spend the extra money for it now when third-party versions come out. If there is a third-party version of that comes out, okay, maybe. But it seems like a minor problem since most of the ones I have are like stands and stuff, so it's obvious the way you put them on.
I like the stand ones because you can see your phone. So yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's more iPhone stuff. This phone's going to come out by Friday, so I'm going to get the first ones. Travis probably get the Max one in November. So this will be an ongoing discussion in GadgetCast. Don't worry. If we cover everything about the new iPhone, it's gonna be the conversation for at least
And-
like a month.
And you ordered the iPad Air, right?
Yes, I did.
So which color did you get?
Oh, blue.
Yes,
I got-
nice.
I got all the blue iPhones and all, the blue iPad Air.
Dang, I think I might want to come over and see that stuff. I love
And I got
that.
the blue Apple Watch. Look at this. I'm all blue this year.
I want to get the blue the strap what is it, that one loop that's that has like the little braids in it, but they're like you can't even get them, like sold out for a while.
Yeah, I couldn't justify ordering it. I was like, $100. It looks
I can't
cool.
either, but I want it. Actually, I want to try it first.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can't order it. It's $100. And then like I kept looking at it. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to order it. And it's like
and you can't get it. Yeah,
here. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's dumb. I'm just waiting for a third party to come out with basically a knockoff version of it for like $20, and then jump
It'll
on
happen.
that.
it'll
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely. Yeah, might have already happened.
I agree. I just couldn't at the time. I'm like, $100. No. And then,
Yeah, the iPad Air. One of the reasons that we believe that it isn't coming out before the iPhone, even though it's been ready, is because we don't want to see a whole bunch of people finding out how fast the A14 is without the iPhone being the premier device that you tried on. Which is funny because it's not actually going to stop anything. You're still going to get the same benchmark. So it is a little bit of a weird way to do it, but it's part of the marketing brand. But then again, they announced it with the iPad Air. They didn't have to do that. So it's kind of this. They did this. The reason why we made such a big deal about it when the iPad Air came out, they were like, oh my God, they're announcing a new processor with the iPad, is exactly the reason that they're not releasing the iPad first, is that normally it's introduced on a phone. So it's still kind of weird to me that they went ahead and did that, yet you're kind of sitting here going, okay, but I can't get it yet. I know it exists. And now you're going to be at the same time as the phone. So which are you going to test? It doesn't even matter. Like, it's such a weird thing. I can only imagine the marketing team and like the engineering team must be butting heads on that.
yeah, it really doesn't make sense the more I think about it. They had that Apple Watch event. They could have just showed us like Apple Watches, and maybe they wanted to do it because they had that budget iPad that they put out immediately. That could have been a press release. That really wasn't a big deal. It was just an A12 chip in the iPad. People are going to buy it because it's the cheap iPad. You really don't have to market it too hard.
Yep.
So the more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense to me. I'm guessing they just had all these products they didn't want to take away from the iPhone. They wanted to give like the iPad its own special airtime. But the fact that it's not shipping until literally the day the iPhones went up, and it's shipping at the exact same date, it's just really weird. I don't know who made that decision. I felt like, I guess they just really wanted the focus to be on the iPhones, but I feel like you could have announced it at that event and people would have understood it. But I don't know. I'm excited to get it though. I don't know why. It's kind of like just a 11-inch iPad. It's because it's blue, probably, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's actually one of the reasons I wanted. And then I started looking at the pricing versus like even renewed iPad Pros, which would be actually maybe a better deal. Although I won't know until you do your benchmarking. But it's like the same amount of, like, the price is about the same. The 2018 11-inch and even sometimes on sale the 2020 11-inch is about the same price.
You know what's awful about getting this? I had to order the 11-inch version of the keyboard because I have the 12.9 with the keyboard, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have the keyboard to test it out in. I gotta order that too. So it was like expensive all over again. And I don't know if I'm gonna end up keeping that keyboard. Probably not, maybe, but we'll see. It depends how much I like the iPad Air, honestly. The thing that upsets me the most about this iPad Air is the storage configurations. I don't get why there's not a 128 option. Like it's 64 or 256. I feel like 128 is where I want it to be. Like that would be fine for me. Like a middle storage option. If they did it the same pricing the way they do the iPhones, it would be, it's $599 for the Air. It would be $650. But when you jump up to 256, it's $750, and it's getting so close to the iPad Pro that, and you know, maybe the Air is a little bit better than the Pro now, but I feel like there should have been a 128 option because I think that's the option that most people should probably get if they offered it. And I guess it's just that Apple, like, oh, we'll offer 64 and 256 and we'll get a little bit more money because some people are just going to need to get more storage.
Apple's been doing this for a while where they're a step or 2 years behind on storage upgrades from like competitors. And it's really annoying At this point, it doesn't really even seem to be a good reason for it. It's not like they're going, oh, we're using this super high speed SSD that we just can't get enough of. They're like, nah, man, 64, you want more? Here you go. You got to pay more for it. It's annoying. It's unnecessary. Hopefully next year, 128 is the base of everything. And by then we'll be like, why is it 256? It's always something with Apple. And it seems like this is one of the things that they're just not overly concerned with, because I think they probably also know the usage of their average consumer, like what the percentage of their phone usage is, but it's kind of a false thing. Now, here's the thing. If you have, let's say there's still a bunch of 32 gig phones. I'm sure there are tons. And they're saying that most people are only using 20 gigs of it. Well, some people might only be using 20 gigs of it because there's only 32 gigs available, and some of that's already taken up by the OS, and they have to keep deleting stuff every 3 weeks. So now I'm making this all up, right? This all could be false. But my guess is one of the reasons they don't go up faster is because they are doing some type of looking at because when your iPad and iPhone connect, they know all types of stuff about your phone. And storage usage would be one of those things. So I wonder if they're using that to validate the storage options that they're offering.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of your bubble too, because I know for me it's like I can never make 64 work. That's just no. 128 I could. So I'm like, oh, that should be the option, or it's the default. I've talked to like people in my family, and it's like, oh, don't get the 64, and they're like, why? And it's like, oh, you're gonna need more storage. And then like we look at their phone, and it's like they use 30 gigabytes out of the 64 that they currently have. Yeah. So sometimes like I do put my own like thinking on it. Still, for the iPhone, maybe it's even more acceptable, 64. For the iPad Air, especially the position of iPad now, it really is like, for most people, I think, are you buying a laptop or are you buying an iPad? And if it's like a laptop replacement, I really feel like 128, maybe even that is too low, but 128, it's there.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like you're buying a $600 device. It's like, do you really want to get the 64 model? It's such an attractive price at that $600. When you bump it up to 256, it's not as attractive. 750, it's not as like, oh, it's kind of like 750.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to see just a 128 upgrade on that, and then it'd be 650. It's not too bad, but that's Apple for you. You're right about that.
Nothing new there. One or two more things before we go. So I finally got my cases for my Galaxy Fold 2. I got one on here right now. I also have another one with a kickstand behind. And what I've noticed about all of them is that they're really thin and kind of flimsy. Although this one's pretty cool, the kickstand. But I've noticed at the front, some of these cases now have double-sided stick tape to keep the front piece on, because typically it's the front. I'm showing this on YouTube too. So if you go check out gadgetcast.com/YouTube, you might be able to see that, or youtube.com/gadgetcast, you'll see this. Like this front part needs a sticky to kind of keep it on. Otherwise, when you keep opening and closing it, the front part starts to slip. And that's annoying. I've never had to do that on a phone case ever. And again, I'm not having this phone without a case on it, so it's something I'm learning to live with. I'm hoping that more cases come out. This phone is one of the only phones I've ever known, other than a cheap kind of no-name phone, that had so few options available when you picked it up. Like you could pre-order a bunch of them. But yeah, kind of annoying. I do like this blue one that I have. It works really well. I kind of recommend it. I think it was only like $18, but it had to get shipped from China, so that took forever. And then this other one with a kickstand's pretty nice, but the front part, they give you like double sticky things, and I don't want to deal with that. But I do like the kickstand. So Fold 2 is still doing well, but it's funny how quickly you forget about these phones once Apple season begins and everyone starts talking about iPhones. So definitely be interesting to see if they ever come out with like final sales numbers of these, like how many folds were actually sold. I can't imagine it was that many. It's just too expensive. But I do still love the technology. It still is my other Android phone of choice in the moment. But it's going to be iPhone 12 Pro Max for me, I guess. I will not go 256 like I did last time, though. I don't need that much. I just checked. I don't need that much storage.
Oh, so you can make do with the 128?
I can indeed, yes. Your hair, says Renee Rich. We were just talking about Renee earlier, actually.
I combed it and glued it together, and we're gonna have to cut it, I think, because it's getting long. I don't
Everyone who's in the chat, make sure you guess what color iPhone 12 Renee Ritchie is watching this on right now.
True. Renee, how do we look in? I don't know.
On the OLED iPhone 12, on the 6.1 inch. I told him I expected him to show my live stream on his review video with him holding it on there. So people in the chat are going to start guessing what color phone Renee has. All right.
Before we end, I know this
Yeah.
episode, there's two other things I want to catch up on.
Yeah,
Watching us on Apple TV, so he can really see us blown up.
And by the way, finally got to watch some 4K YouTube on my Apple TV. Super happy and excited about that. So thank goodness that finally got kicked out. So excited.
I do, for real quick, the Pro models, interestingly enough, they got cheaper if you really think about it. If you want to upgrade your storage this year to 256, 512, I think they're $50 cheaper than they were last year. And obviously the base model got bumped up to 128, and there's no price increase on the Pro model. So technically the Pro models got cheaper, which is nice, especially when you consider like other phone manufacturers like Samsung. They are making like the higher end options more expensive with like their Ultra series. So still, Apple is still kind of more grounded in their pricing, I think. Which is nice. And then someone asked us our thoughts about them not including the charging brick in the phone.
Well, I went on a couple of rants across 2 different videos, so you definitely should go to my channel and watch that. The high end, okay, I don't want to go into this too long, but I will give my thoughts, and then Greg, I'd be happy to hear yours.
Sure.
I understand why they said they did it. And I even believe that there is a portion of Apple that is definitely committed to greener, kind of, carbon neutral. So I believe that. There's obviously a person in charge of it, which means that person's trying to get their job done. So they believe in that. 100% believe that. I also believe that needs to be in balance with making sure that every device makes that money. I mean, the iPhone 12s are technically $30 more expensive than they were last year, and they're shipping less actual physical devices in it. Now, of course, they do have 5G and OLED. I get that. Having said that, it would almost be more, I would almost believe it more if they did not ship with a lightning to USB-C cable, because their explanation of it was that there's so many chargers out there, but the chargers that are out there have USB-A on the other side. Now, what some people will say is, well, if you have an iPhone, you probably have an iPhone cable. Well, number one, maybe, yes. Although if you're selling or trading that phone, you probably won't after that. Number two, so many people lose their charging cables left, right, and center that a lot of times they are looking for the new charging cable. And number three, and most definitively, like if you are coming from Android, the chances are you don't have a lightning to USB-C cable at all. You don't have a lightning cable at all. And your charging cable, your charging blocks that you've had recently are all A. Only unless you have high-end Samsungs would you have a USB-C charging port. It's just not as likely. Now, does that mean that it's the end of the world? No. I mean, you can get a USB-C charger for like 10, 12 bucks on Amazon. But it's not just to say, oh, just use your old cable. That's not always the answer. So that's my thought on it.
Yes. Yeah, I believe there are reasons for doing it. Like, I believe like they sell a lot of phones. So when they say like, hey, it's going to reduce this much carbon emission, I believe them. But I don't like it still, because I just think it's a worse consumer experience. I recently bought, or I guess I returned it now, but I had the ZV-1, and that didn't come with a power brick, and it was annoying. Like, I was like, there's no power brick in here, and like you have to go find another one and take it for something else. So everyone has hundreds of USB-C devices. True. I heard one argument saying, well, if Apple really cared about the environment, they would switch the phone to USB-C, which is not true, because that means all the lightning cables you have would be useless. So that's not true. What Travis said is probably right. Like, they should have done USB-A to lightning, because that seems to be what most people have floating around. I think it's a worse consumer experience, which I'm always against. But you do also have to put your money where your mouth is. If you really do care about the environment, I guess you do have to take steps to do it. And I live in such a bubble. Like, I really have to go out there and talk to regular people. Like, if you ask someone, hey, they're taking away the power brick, does that make you angry? Everyone's going to say yes, because you're getting less in the box. And that's always seen as a company taking advantage of you. But I have so many charging bricks that it's not going to affect me. I want to know, like, I don't know. I should like interview people. I want to know, like, how does it really affect like the average person? Like, does everyone just have a bunch of charging bricks in a box somewhere and we're all going to be fine and no one's going to care? Or is it just a worse experience for the consumer? Like they're going to bring their iPhone home and be so happy and then be like, wait, how do I charge this thing? And then they have to go back to the store and buy a charging brick, which would be really bad. It would be a really bad user experience. That would ruin my entire day if that happened to me. So
yeah. And I have gotten some comments in the, some of these videos are like, no, I don't believe some of them. They're like, I'm just not buying it because of that. But a lot of people are angry and upset about it. That I don't believe, but I do believe people are upset about it.
Yeah, I'm of two minds. I agree it's a worse experience. I wish they weren't doing it, but I do get the environmental impact. If that's true, you do have to care about that. And then at the end of the day, if you know it's not coming with a brick, maybe you spend $20 more and it's not a big deal. Anker, they just sent me a bunch of their new chargers. They have like a 20-watt charger that's just as small as Apple's 5-watt charger. It's $20. It's a better charger than Apple would have gave you in the box. You get that, you'll be fine. Honestly, you can get them for like $10. Maybe you have the cable. Maybe they gave you a USB-C cable. You spend 20 more bucks, you got the power brick. It's not a huge deal. That being said, it's a worse consumer experience, which I'm always against.
Indeed, indeed. And so says GadgetCast. Certainly hope you guys enjoyed the podcast this week. Of course, you can check us out here on YouTube, youtube.com/GadgetCast. You can check all of our social medias in the link below here on YouTube and then also in the show notes on audio. We greatly appreciate you for listening, as you have been. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next week when Greg gets his iPhone 12 and then he has to do 27 videos on it. It'll be really interesting to watch his channel.
We might have an interesting story for next Gadget Cast because I haven't set foot inside of an Apple store way below 100,000. So I'm about 130,000 subscribers. I wonder, will I get recognized? So
I want to know the story. So make sure
that game. Am I, obviously I don't think I'm like a famous person, but if there's anywhere I'm going to be recognized, it's got to be
Apple.
I mean,
store. I was recognized in an Apple store back when I had like 40,000 subscribers. And I do half and half content. So
if you're a Gadgetcast listener and you see me, I'm sure you'll be excited. Just keep your 6 feet distance. You don't have them. If I see someone charging me without a mask, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to pull some kung fu and just it's gonna be messy. Renee,
that would be fun.
Renee's been giving me some pointers about some stuff.
Okay. Anyway, I hope all y'all are doing well. We'll see you again next week here on GadgetCast. Peace and love. Peace and love. And there we go. All right. Well, I have some things I needs to do. Oh God, will they hate me? Oh God, will they hate me?
They might.
They might.
I'm gonna be masked up, so I don't think anyone's gonna recognize me. So yeah, I think I'll be good.
Totally. All right, everyone. We'll have to see you guys next week. I have to do some running. Hopefully next week we'll have before cast and after cast. I just need to get some stuff done. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the YouTubes. Peace and love.
Peace.